Another nice, cool morning. Got a pretty darn good sleep last night. I decided to run the bed east to west since it's just me. And the other night I got out my X-Ped Mega Mat XL and I put that on top of the cushions. It just barely fits. So much more comfortable. But it is definitely coffee time. Over at the coffee bar, we got a mixture of Cactus Squatch and Folgers Breakfast Blend. Just a lot faster and easier to use the Pocket Rocket. And speaking of coffee, I've had a couple of viewers over the last month here or so that have decided to leave a tip in the comment section, or whatever it's called, and they donated a few bucks. And I really appreciate that. I think that's pretty cool. You really don't have to do that though, but I really do appreciate it. And just so all of you know how that works out there, if you do leave me a tip, YouTube still takes half of that, unfortunately. So what I decided to do with that money, when I was in Verde Mesa, Colorado, I decided to buy a nice bag of coffee with that money. I have to take it home and grind it still, and then we'll see how it is. But thank you to those people who did that. That is really cool. And while the coffee's rolling, I got my other stove ready here. I'll make some scrambled eggs and Spam and toast this morning. Just gonna do everything up in the cast iron today. And since I don't like to carry butter, I'll just use a little bit of this spray oil on my bread. Also, a little of the trail dust spice on the toast is really good. Toast is looking just about right. Trail dust gives it a nice little char. Put in a nice amount of Spam. And the trick to good cast iron cooking is a lot of grease. It's usually why I like to cook my meats first. Leave whatever grease is behind to get that coated so everything's nice and slick. Then I may add a little more oil, and I'm going to throw my eggs down. Now it's time to crack a bunch of eggs in. Gonna give that a stir. Kind of make it like an omelet without scrambling the eggs beforehand. On low heat so we can get everything mixed in while it starts to cook. I'm going to pile it all together. Although the Spam's already salty, I will add a little more to the egg. Definitely some black pepper in there, a little added spice. I'll add a little cayenne to it. And I already know I'm not going to be able to flip this over like an omelet, especially with this pan. So we're going to make a little bit of a mess, although it's releasing, and it is in one giant piece. I'm going to use my plate to scoop underneath of it, hopefully. Maybe we can kind of get this flipped. Not the greatest, but that will do. Now I'm just going to turn my heat off and let this Spam omelet quiche, or whatever it is, do its thing. Because this is all going to go over onto the plate. There we go. And before the cast iron even cools down, I'm going to come through and wipe this out while everything comes off nice and easy. And as you can see, if your pan is seasoned fairly well and you use enough oil and grease, nothing sticks. So there isn't much to actually clean out here. Some people like to use soap and water. Every once in a while I'll use some very light soap and water. But I just get it super clean using a towel if I can. We're going to let that cool, then I'll come back and rewarm it with some oil and then let it cool off again. A little more of that Jitter juices, old time Hawkeye calls it. Let's see how our weird spam omelet quiche thing came out. Not too bad. What would have made it better is probably some butter on the toast, but gotta work with what we got. And I don't like to have a lot of stuff hanging around. Plus the oil sprays, they don't leak or run out. Whether or not the Pam's good for you or not, I don't know. I usually prefer the olive oil Pam, but I had some regular have to run out. Alright, well, today's going to be a fairly chill day. I'm going to mainly chill at camp. I got a few chores to take care of. Number one is charging. It's been about 2.5 days and I haven't been getting good solar because I'm facing the wrong direction for the trailer. So finally depleted down to about 25% of that 100 amp hours of lithium battery. Also my Blue Eddy is about 25% also. So I'm just going to let the little Honda run, charging the Blue Eddy again and the trailer's battery. Probably about 1.5 hours, I think. That trailer takes a little bit longer to charge. Today is the last day in this spot, and tomorrow is moving day. So I'm not quite sure where I'm going to go yet. But when I get to the final destination, I'll probably throw out my fold-out solar panel for the trailer to keep it topped up if I'm in the wrong direction or in poor lighting conditions for solar. After that, it is cassette dumping day once again. So I figured out that I could make it about 3 days max until that cassette toilet's about 3/4 of the way filled up. And I use it for both number 1 and 2. I bought a trailer with a bathroom so I can actually use my bathroom. Plus 1 trip to the nasty ammonia filled pit house is better than many trips, especially in the middle of the night when you got to go real bad and you're clinching. If you're close to a bathroom, that's okay, but when you're a few hundred yards away, it's a long journey. And then I got to take a shower, so that means I'm gonna have to find a water source here. This particular loop doesn't have one. The front of the campground has one, so what I'm gonna do is probably fill my 5-gallon jug and come back and siphon fill into the trailer. Then the next run out of the campground, I will fill my jug once more, and that'll give me about 10 more gallons of water. So I've made it 6 days with 2 cassette dumps and a total of 25 gallons of water. And I'm still not out of water in that trailer. I'll probably have about 5 gallons left after the shower. Now, I do skip showering when I'm camping like this to save water, in a dry campground anyway. But the way I stay clean is I use Dude Wipe Shower. You have to get the shower version because that actually works to wipe down all your important bits. And those are days where I'm just driving or something. I'm not really doing any strenuous activity, so not a big deal there. I will give a quick rinse off with the external shower. And at 6 days, we're showing just under half on the propane. And I opted to go with a smaller propane cylinder to keep weight down in there. Plus, I don't use that much propane all the time. And that was probably, 85% full when I started out. I forgot to fill it all the way. And that's running the heater around the stovetop a couple times to make coffee. So I think that should have just enough left to make it another 3 days. There may be one cold night, but at least I'll have a warm shower on the last day. Now, as far as power usage goes, I can't give you an exact on that. I'll do the final totals of this at the end of the trip. But as far as charging goes, that is still the ultimate right there, especially if you want to run your air conditioning in this little trailer or something. But it really works out well, like I said earlier, when you combine that with something like a Blue Eddy AC 180 or 200 or something, because you can really save on gas if you're boondocking. Charge that up within about an hour or so, and then you just use the silent power off of the Blue Eddy. And I also forgot to mention I have my Blue Eddy 120 watt fold out panel just kind of sitting off the back rack. And that runs all the way up to the front tongue box where I have my second Victron charge controller for that. because in a little bit we should get afternoon sun coming in on the backside. It's either that or you got to bring a ton of solar and hope that you're in sun and good lighting conditions. For many of those on the East Coast, solar probably ain't going to work out too well for you unless you have a whole lot of it. Fast battery charging and a larger battery capacity is definitely going to be the way of the future. It also means you may not need to carry as heavy of a battery system. But in a minute here I'm going to take a shower, get cleaned up, and then I'll take you out for some fun stuff. We'll go check out some sights and things on the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Time to hit the shower. I kind of want to wear this shirt for the whole rest of the trip. It still smells like jet fuel. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the wet bath, but you know what? When you're camping, you're camping. So a shower is pretty awesome to have. But what I like to do, it's pretty simple and easy. Once I get out of the shower, I take a microfiber drying cloth. This is actually my drying towel, but if you can find one of that fake suede material, it sucks up water even better. And right after I'm done showering, I just wipe the walls, roofs, everything down, top to bottom. Then I have this small battery-powered chargeable fan that has a setting where I leave it on for about an hour. Just to further drive things out, I take my little shower curtain here that some people think is useless, but it works pretty well. It keeps that water from hitting the door because this seal isn't perfect down here to leave your door shut and take a shower. I just leave the door open and put the curtain up, and then I'll hang this curtain with that fan on and my drying towel left in there on a hook I put up there, and probably within 30 minutes this whole bathroom's dry. Some people put a little teak wood floor down, that way the water drains if they have to use the toilet in between, but really I've never had to do that, so I'm not worried about it. Plus, you get to keep your bathroom squeaky clean and spotless every time. I would say that's pretty easy for a camp shower, to tell you the truth. I used to bring one of those giant pop-up things, throw it outside. Then I'd have to get in there, place my clothes outside somehow, warm up a pot of water, use some kind of water pump, hose down. Then I would take the shower enclosure down, let it dry out if I wasn't going to be in the area for a long time. Because if you leave those things up, you'll get all kinds of spiders and creepy things inside while you're gone. So this is super easy. Another thing that drives me insane is going by empty, third, 2/3 full. But that's not too bad for 6 days of water use. And like I said, I did have a 5-gallon jug in the back of my truck to go along with me just in case. But I'm still going to fill this thing up with water again. Alright, so here's the water fill. Here's my jug. How am I going to get filtered water into this jug? This is a weird tap. There is no regular bare hose end here, so I make this really neat invention. It's called the Water Bandit. A rubberized thing, and you can kind of get it to adapt to different things. Now, knowing this, I wouldn't have used their weird plastic clamp. I'd probably just use a hose clamp and a screwdriver. But all I'm going to do is hold my water filter right up in there and let it run through into my jug. And by the way, the Clear 2.0 is probably the best, most compact water filter system you can get. I think the top side has a 10 micron sediment filter, and then I opted for their 1 micron solid core charcoal filter to really keep my tank fresh and keep anything out of it. Because you never know where they're getting this water from. A lot of people find a lot of sediment and rust and dirt coming from well water at these campgrounds. I'm gonna have to hold this on here real snug while I open the valve up. Where is the seal? And I just figured out that I actually lost my O-ring seal in here the last time I used this thing. So I'm gonna have to do my best to make a mess here to get some filtered water out of it. Now that sucks, and I don't know where my backup one is. Yeah, it's kind of working.
I'm gonna have to order another seal kit for that top piece. I have no idea what happened to that. Probably fell out last time I dumped it. So it worked just barely, but let me show you what I'm working with here. The top of this cap comes off, and what I usually do is I drain the water out of this at home, and somewhere in between I must have lost the little silicone O-ring. But inside the top half we have this pretty cool filter that really filters out sediment, and then your bottom half is just like your regular replaceable filter, and this one goes down to 1 micron, and that's a solid carbon core in there. This one will actually do some serious filtering. Now, I may seem like I'm a little over paranoid about this stuff, but I want to keep my fresh tank in that RV super clean and drinkable, although you should never drink the RV water. That way it helps prevent any kind of stuff in your tank growing. But as far as this thing went, that actually helped out big time. But I think I'll actually get a small hose clamp and bring a screwdriver next time to really crank down on these weird faucets. I didn't see that coming. Alright, we're going to siphon some water here into our tank, and I'm going to give you a real quick explanation. You need to put it on sanitize or siphon to tank via pump. Pretty easy to follow these instructions. Turn your valves in that direction. Well, generator finally ran out of fuel. You can do this however you want to do it, but I like to use one of these little bendy extensions first so I can thread it into the fitting rather than me trying to crank that fitting down. Then I can hold that and tighten this in so I don't stress that water fitting out there. Then I'll take my little extension hose here, and I chose to just use a little extension hose rather than making one because this can be used to add some length to your water line. And you want to shove that down in your water bucket here. Then you're going to turn your pump on. And make sure all your valves are in the right direction. The reason that didn't work was because I didn't have that valve pointed like that. Now we turn our pump back on, and it should start sucking in. There it goes. You're now siphon filling. Then I'll do this process one more time. Put another 10 gallons into this trailer. And that should last me the rest of this trip. I think I got about 5 gallons left in the trailer right now. And the trash has been taken out. And now our camping chores are done for the rest of the week. So now we can continue on to the fun stuff. Hopefully I don't bore all you out there that want to watch the camping portion. I just know that there are a lot of people that want to see some of these processes, and there are a lot of people out there that don't really explain things in kind of layman's terms or normal people terms. So that's why I like to show how to do this stuff, by just giving a way simpler explanation on things. Alright, either way, we're going to head into the park. We're going to go check out the old El Tavar Hotel on the rim, a few other things. Probably going to skip a lot of the cooking throughout this video and stuff because that takes up a lot of time. And there's going to be a lot cooler things to see and do for the rest of this remaining vacation video series. And I do like doing the cooking videos and whatnot. It is fun to do. And I like to do that on the regular camping trips because that's basically what it's about. But for those of you that don't do a lot of videos, cooking stuff really takes up a lot of video time. It takes a lot of editing. But today should be a nice informational day with beautiful pictures and video. And tomorrow, if everything goes right, I'll once again be risking my life to bring you some of the most epic and interesting footage. Let's get them turbos spooling. Pretty cool. The train is in town. Right over here is where they keep all the muleys, so you can go down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon on a mule. I learned all the ins and outs and back ways around here a long time ago, because we definitely ain't gonna be parking up there. This place is jam-packed today. Plus, we get to see the Grand Canyon train from here.
Strange smell in the air, and it's not good. It's definitely mule guacamole. Pro tip from the old DSW. You want to go check out the hotel and stuff on the rim? Park across from it, across the train tracks, take the stairs and park out over here behind where the mules are. Alright, now we're going to go check out the Bright Angel Lodge.
That rock house is like right on the peak. Change.
I always thought it'd be pretty neat to stay at one of these cabins up here.
One of the major holidays where it's supposed to make that. Yeah, where it's supposed to make that. All right, shall I go over there? Go over there so I can get you. Could you just sit down?
We'll go check out the historic Kolb studio hanging off the edge here. One heck of a place to put an art studio, huh? Maybe we'll do that tomorrow.
No.
So from all the way up here, you can see the Bright Angel Trail heading down to Indian Gardens. It's like a little oasis down there. And you can take the trail out to Plateau Point, which is like 1,000 feet down to the river off of that edge. It's pretty scary standing out on the end of that thing. But to get down to the river and the ranch, you need to branch off and go down that crack and head down. It's hard to spot the ranch at this angle, but it's somewhere down in there. And then you follow that massive gorge and crack all the way across that side until you come up the north side. I forgot the name of this section of hotel here, but we stayed here one time because we needed a layover night before we did the rim to rim to rim. Now we'll go check out El Tovar.
End of October, and it's for the sweet. Okay.
That would be Hopi House, not Hoppy House. This place reminds me of The Shining. Should be two little girls at the base of an elevator out there. That is definitely on the list one day. I've always wanted to take that train. Alright, now it's time to head back to camp. I have a lot of things to get done because tomorrow is moving day. But we're not quite leaving. Tomorrow we have some things to do here. Since I am a bougie camper these days, I made reservations at the finest restaurant in the area. But that won't be tonight. Well guys, turns out moving day came early. So we got to get out of here. This is definitely gonna set some things back for sure. I was not expecting that. Another hard parking spot. Man, was that a long, tough, arduous haul. I'm literally like that far down from the last spot. So what ended up happening is I chose to stay at this campground for a couple extra days. So I couldn't keep my spot, so I booked another spot I liked. But I moved in a little early because I need to get up early for what I have planned. But oddly enough, it is a Friday here at 3:30, and there's probably 25 cars here in this whole giant campground of 160 sites. So pretty weird for how packed the Grand Canyon's getting today. So now I got to get everything reset up, so should take me about 10 minutes. But not a bad spot over here. I'm pretty spread out from all the rest of everybody. Got a site across, one or two back there, but nobody else around me, and I'm kind of out here on the edge. And I'm also running the generator again because the tab's only sitting at about 60%. Even if I had a bigger 200 amp hour lithium battery, it still wouldn't have cut it for being in the shade. Even having external solar panels doesn't always work when the sun's being blocked everywhere. Got a little chillier today. It's a little weird. I already got a sweater on. But I'm not going to cook anything fancy tonight. It's just going to be super easy and simple. I need to save some video space for tomorrow's adventure. Which, by the way, every time I come up to this place, I tell myself over and over again, I ain't doing that walk again. But it looks like I'm going to be walking once again. But I need to do a little pre-prep for tomorrow. And although tomorrow isn't going to be anything too crazy as far as this walk goes, I just kind of want to show you what I do when I actually go for a hike. First thing I want is some protein, so I'm going to pack down a bunch of this beef jerky. Then I need some carbs and something salty. Then I want something to keep my mouth moist and give me a little energy boost. Buddy pack. Yeah, right. Don't be touching my beef jerky. So I got enough jerky packed. I got my gummy bears and my crunchy, salty, spicy snack. And by the way, that is actually pretty good jerky. It's real jerky, not that meat mashed cheap crap. I like a good real jerky. So our hiking snack pack is ready to go here. Now I know everybody's diet's different, but if you're a decently healthy individual,
You want to have a lot of salts, waters, electrolytes on top of sugars. That's going to give your energy boost for doing this kind of strenuous activity. Now, like I said, tomorrow, I'm not going to go too far. It's not going to be that strenuous, but that's what I like to do for lightweight and getting all the necessary protein, calories, and sugars in me to keep me boosted and going while I'm out hiking. If you bring a bunch of diet stuff and some really plain trail mix with you and you go out on a long, strenuous hike, you ain't gonna make it. Right now is not the time to diet. When you get back, go ahead and diet. But when you're out there burning up those calories, you need some fuel. You need calories any way you can get them, and a whole lot of energy. So basically what I'm trying to say is, now is the time to eat your junk food. But of course, don't do what I'm gonna do. You do what you want to do, and if you can't have those kind of foods, then obviously don't eat them. So once again, nothing fancy for dinner because I want to relax. I don't want to spend time cooking tonight, and I'm really craving soup because I know tomorrow I'm gonna need to be well hydrated. As weird as it is, some nice sodium-filled liquid and soup, along with a little added protein, is what I kind of fuel up on if I know I'm going to be doing any kind of strenuous activity the next day. And by strenuous activity, I don't mean just going to a gym. I'm talking about, this is probably going to take 4 hours. It could even go longer, I'm not sure yet. And it's going to be pretty tough. And this is definitely not one of those walks that you mess around with. And I want to be 100% serious and stern about this when I go do this tomorrow. You do not mess around with this kind of hike. Look at that blood red fire sauce in there. That's definitely going to hurt later.
I already know this is going to be some spicy stuff. And now I'm using a plastic fork. I keep forgetting I have a bunch of disposable stuff in my camp kitchen. Oh yeah, that's spicy. And the generator is still purring away. So far, I think I've ran the... God dang, dude, it's a neighborhood. It's people like that that ruin camping for everybody else. That was a little ridiculous right there. But anyways, I think I've ran that generator a total of 2.5 hours so far this whole trip. So that's pretty good. It's still going on its gallon of gas.
Always looks so cool when the sun's coming through the trees like that.
Anyways, I'm gonna finish eating my super hot ramen noodles here, and then I'm gonna call it quits for the evening. Get a few things prepped for tomorrow, and then head out really early in the morning. You're not gonna want to miss that. It should be pretty epic, or grand.
All right, y'all. See you in the AM. It is way too early. And cold. All right, 6 a.m. and we're off. Kind of wanted to get up a lot earlier, but I guess I'm getting old and I'm kind of over that. But it's still early enough to beat the heat. There's only 2 other campers in this loop still. Pretty awesome. So, I'm heading out to hike down into the Grand Canyon once more. Now, I don't want to blow this hike out of proportion, but I don't want to underestimate it for many of those out there. Although you are in a park, that doesn't mean you're in an amusement park. This is a serious hike. And it's got that reverse mountain problem to it. Meaning, you start up top and you start heading down and it's pretty easy to hike and you're thinking you're doing just fine. And this place especially, it just keeps wanting to draw you in farther and farther. You want to see around every corner and bend. By the time you get down there, okay, well, you're at the first rest house, second rest house, big deal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles. It was no big deal going down. But then you got to turn around and come back up. And I'll tell you what, there's some sections of this that are pretty steep. A lot of chunky stuff, a lot of stuff that may have wood steps in it that you got to hike up and over. And the other thing to consider is it is very dry here. and you're at high altitude. It's going to be pretty hard to breathe if you're not used to that stuff. And you need to bring water. I would say at least 2 liters of water. Going down the Bright Angel Trail, there are, or should be, a few water resupply spots at the rest house. That's not always the way it is, because the water line could be busted. I've seen too many people hiking down this trail over time that literally just have a little 20-ounce bottle of water. I've seen people 6 miles in down below with a tiny bottle of water. Flip-flops. Now, if you're in phenomenal running shape or something, you may be able to get away with that. But I'm telling you right now, as a dude that hikes pretty often, I want to make sure I got water. You're going to feel like total crap by the end of the day if you make it back up this reverse mountain. And by the way, if you get stuck down here, you'll most likely be airlifted out by helicopter, and that's probably a good $125,000 bill if they can get you out that way. So once you're down there, there is no option for quitting. You have to make it back out on your own. And unless you're in really good shape and you've planned this hike out and you really know what you're doing, you're not going to make it down to the river and back up in one day. I'm a pretty moderate hiker, and I've done that one time. The trail system going down on the KBAB side has 0 water, by the way, so you don't want to go up that route. And I'll tell you what, I started out at 4 in the morning, and I didn't get back till 6:30 in the evening. And that was constantly moving at a moderate pace, taking breaks when I needed to. I did make it down to the river and the ranch and back out, but I'll tell you what, for the next few days, and this is after a few months of working out and doing a lot of hiking, I almost couldn't walk. And depending on the time of the year, you're going to start out up top here at like 40 degrees, and by the time you get to the bottom, you're in the desert. It'll be 105 degrees and stagnant down in those canyons in direct sunlight. But a trip down to the first or maybe second rest house is definitely doable by most if you're able-bodied. And that's on the Bright Angel side, where they have water, hopefully. Stopped by the general store real quick. Didn't feel like cooking this morning. Gotta fuel up. Just had this baby deer pop up right out of the bushes. And it begins again. I feel like Moses with the staff. I usually use trekking poles, but tribal elder UP gave me this really nice hiking stick. So I'm going to be using that today. Ooh, long way down. A lot of things to watch out for up here, especially the mule guac. You'll see plenty of that and some mule lemonade along the trail. Pretty cool part in the trail going through the little tunnel. The famous warning signs. So the trail starts out fairly nice, and the deeper you go, the worse it gets, and the more rutted it gets, rockier, larger steps. And I am definitely not in built-up hiking shape. I stay pretty active, so I am good for a short period. I'll just be pretty sore later on. But like I said, I don't plan on going past maybe the first or second rest house today. And there's a glimpse of our first destination today. Somewhere right around there. And if you're afraid of heights, this definitely ain't the thing for you to do. But just like they always say, don't look down. I look just out in front ahead of me. I'm actually not that good with heights these days. I'm better with going downhill so I can see where the edge of things are than coming uphill to a blind corner. Very nice morning, a little breezy but cool. Kind of nice. I'm usually doing this section in the dark or on the way back up, so I don't get to enjoy the view. But trekking poles or a hiking staff definitely help out slow your descent and help you get up and over things. I don't always rely on them until I do a bigger hike. That way I can keep my muscles built up in between. And the Stairmaster begins. Like I said earlier, this trail is pretty steep. You're not going to realize it. It is going to suck you right downhill. It's going to feel nice and easy. But the way out, it's not fun. And as you start to head down, things start to get steeper. And as time goes on, you're quite literally descending through the layers of time. And that's how fast you start making it down. The top edge of that is the top. And it's only been about 15 minutes. And when you come back up, you'll start seeing what you think is the top, I don't know, 2 or 3 different times. And it's definitely not. A lot of false top outs. Coming up on the second tunnel. It's another one of those that gives you false hope. You think you're getting to the top, and you still got a while to go. Look at that. And the rule goes, the amount of time you go down, for instance, if you go down 1 hour, it's going to take you 2 to come back up, if not 2.5 hours. And I'm actually surprised there's not more people out here right now. It was getting busy yesterday, but not as busy as it typically is up here, although this isn't a holiday weekend for the Americans. I've never seen it this slow on the trail. It's actually really nice. You also see all kinds of different demographics of people up here because it is a worldwide destination. Makes it kind of neat. Certain times of the year, there are people from different countries. Right now it seems to be mostly Germany and France. So maybe they got a holiday or vacation going on over there right now. Still got a ways to go. That little tiny green roof out there. I think as I'm getting older, I'm starting to get vertigo more. But I'm not necessarily afraid of heights. Obviously took a helicopter ride. Maybe it's more of the falling to my death. Something new around every bend. It just keeps sucking you in. And the big reason you want to start this hike out early is because it is shaded on this side in the morning. Probably up till about 11 o'clock. After that, it's going to be direct sunlight all the way back up. Look at that wall of rock. And this is when you start getting into those fall summits. That ain't even the top. One time we got to this point, we looked over. There's a dead mule down there. The mule lived a good life, and unfortunately, that's when decided it was done. And like most things here, if you don't make it, you're probably not being taken back out. You'd be very lucky to catch a mule ride out if you hurt yourself here. So what they tell you to do is, as you're going downhill and you think you're doing just fine, you may want to turn around and take a few steps back uphill and see how you're going to like it before you go too far. But if you're planning on backpacking this place and staying down here for the night or down at the ranch, which I highly recommend if you're into hiking and all that and backpacking,
You're gonna have to make that reservation about a year out now to get some backcountry camping permits down here. As far as the mule rides go, it looks pretty scary, but they said they've never had an accident in like, I don't know, 100 years. Mules are very stable on their feet. They look at all four corners and know exactly where they're at, and they're not as skittish as a horse. But there is a weight limit. I think you have to be 200 pounds and under. And the deeper down and farther down you get, the warmer it gets. It's probably warmed up at least 10 to 15 degrees at this elevation down here. So the time we hiked out to Plateau Point and back up in one shot, which is that all the way out there on the edge. You cut through Indian Gardens down there, and like I said earlier in the video, it's like a little oasis down there. I think they're cottonwood trees, got some shade. There's a crystal clear creek down there, very, very low. But we ended up soaking down in that because it is very hot down there during September. And like I said, I'm not a super fast hiker here, but I'm consistent. I'm like a locomotive. So we trucked along at a moderate pace. That hike, we started out at 4 o'clock in the morning also, and with a lot of breaks. Oh, that had to take us at least 12 hours to get down and back out. I think we got back out by about 4 o'clock that afternoon. And the person I was with at the time started kind of losing it down there. She was on the verge of heat stroke, and I had to make her sit down in the shade and get soaked down in some water for at least an hour down there before we could continue on. And speaking of that, there's even a sign here that says that. So there's your water spigot, and the water is working on the south side. But the only water you're going to get is on the Bright Angel Trail. The South Kabab Trail down is very steep, steeper than this. There are no water spots on that hike down. It should be a down only or experienced hiker coming up maybe in the winter. All right, here's the first rest house. Look at that little dude just hanging out on the edge. And they get pretty mad at you around here if you're feeding those things, because they could contain some kind of plague. Killer squirrels, man. But the way these bathroom houses work, they're just basically big old composting toilets. They ain't hauling that out or pumping it out. Alright, so I'm 1 hour down. So that means it's going to take me about 2 hours to get back up. So I think the first rest house is going to be my turnaround point today. I don't think I'm feeling going down to that second one down there, third one. I forgot the mileage. I think this one's 1.5 miles down. And I think the next one down is 3 miles. Watch this. See, these guys know when breakfast is coming. As soon as this pack sets down. The bandits. Told you. Nope, no way, dude. No food for you, Squirrely Bronson. That's already a long way to the top. And that ain't even the real top up there. Nope.
Little dude's after my nuts. Alright, time to turn around and head back up before it gets too hot. So we'll see how long it takes for me to get up there.
These guys are made for the desert. They actually have 2 stomach compartments, and they can store water if they need to for up to 3 days. Now, we never make them go without water. They have plenty of water in their corrals, but it's kind of cool to know that if they needed to, they could. They also have smaller hooves than horses, and they stand up more on their toes, which makes them a lot more sure-footed in this rocky environment. So I'm not going to tell you that they don't stumble, because they still do. These rocks nearly as much as a horse. They're also incredibly strong with very thick skin. So these guys can actually carry up to a third of their body weight versus horses, which can carry up to about 20%. Our largest mule out here, his name is Steve. He is 2,200 pounds. For comparison, y'all's mules are about 1,700. And he can carry up to just over 700 pounds. Now again, we would never make him. That'd be kind of like me trying to lift what a bodybuilder could with no conditioning. But it is kind of cool to know that he could. Mules are not going to put their lives at risk. They're going to look at that drop, look at me, say I'm crazy, leave me in the dust. They are not going to go over. Is everyone still feeling good?
Yep.
Did everyone get some water?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Go ahead and take the mules out of the park. Give them to the right hand here. Our next stop is going to be 3 Mile Rest House.
It's the half-ass way up and down the canyon. That's the joke you're looking for, Jess.
I have no clue what you said, so.
Could you ride one? Here comes the supplies for the ranch down below. And this is how they get in and out. Morning.
How you doing today?
Good. Going down to the ranch?
Oh no, we're just going down the 2 miles there.
Gotcha. Oh, this is the work crew. Morning. Pretty crazy and pretty cool. Oh, there's the answer to that. So yeah, 1.5 miles down. The next rest house is 3, I think. We're the Sedona level. And as you're coming up, I think the correct trail etiquette should be that the uphill hiker has the right of way because they're the most tired. But oftentimes it doesn't work like that. More often than not, people don't know that. And the people coming downhill are terrified. So they're hugging the wall. And they tend to push you to the outside. Morning. Morning. And a good rule of thumb, so you don't burn out, is try to hold a conversation while you're walking. If you can't breathe and hold a conversation walking, you're going too fast. Morning. 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 I told you, everybody hugs the inside coming down. Looks like we already got a rescue or something going on down at Indian Gardens. Anyways, the old saying for this is true: slow and steady wins the race. I think this dude's following me. Also, when you're hiking uphill, you want to take smaller steps. You don't want to be doing lunges, burning out your thighs and your calves. When a buddy and I were doing the rim to rim to rim, he was really pushing it, wanting to get to the next camp. And he was hurting pretty bad by the second, third day, and last day out. So on this whole last section up, he was hurting so bad on the last day that he couldn't even stop to take a rest, or he wouldn't be able to get back up. The skin on the ball of his heel
up the back strap of the ankle had completely come off. And take breaks often when you need to. We're getting there. And I actually had 2 people let me pass on the inside going up. Morning. That was a 50-50 split. Ah, the smell of fresh mule guac in the morning. Morning.
Morning.
Gummy bears are a superfood. And we're back at our first False Hope tunnel here. But we don't have too much farther to go. Probably about another 15 minutes or so. Whew, this is the part where you start getting dizzy. Look at that. And the lunges always look sketchier heading uphill, especially around this section. Oh, the Stairmaster 1 million. You can see what I'm talking about. When you're going downhill, you don't notice that you have to step up over all this stuff on the way back up. I need a set of turbos or a supercharger myself. The air gets thinner the higher you go. How's that for a turnout? Just starting to come back into daylight. So I had a pretty funny couple come walking down above me, and I heard him say, "Looks like this guy lost his hiking partner." So I said, "Nah, I left them behind. They just slowed me down." Oh, we still got a ways to go. I feel like that little mining dude in The Price is Right, just yodeling up the hill. So I gotta go all the way up there. Always crazy when you get passed up by the high altitude superhumans with 30-pound packs. If you ever get to that point where you're feeling like you just want to finish, you just want to be done and you keep pushing, that's the time that you need to stop, take a break, and slow down. Nice and slow and you'll make it out. But as you can see, I timed this just right. I'm only going to be in direct sunlight for probably about 15-20 minutes. Almost there. Now we're almost there. Ooh, that air feels chilly up here in the shade. And we're going through the last tunnel. And we're done. Made it out for the 15th time. My pilgrimage is complete once again. That was a short hike though, 3 miles round trip, but I think I misspoke down there. I started the trailhead at 7:15 this morning, and I just topped out at 9:45. So not too bad. I guess I'm a little faster than I thought. So 2.5 hours down and up, 3 miles.
And it's not the easiest hike, I'll tell you that, especially with the altitude. But it is a great one if you love to hike. The heck? Looks like I got something on my hat. Hopefully it ain't trail guac. Almost 12 o'clock on a Saturday and nobody is here. But it is lunchtime. Super easy camp lunch. $15 for a Wendy's double fries and a drink up here. I originally wanted to go to the marketplace and eat, but they were closed for some reason. And I don't feel like cooking right now. Plus, I think I earned that cheeseburger. Check this guy out. Met the camp host a couple days ago. Pretty cool dude, 79 years old. Out here working harder than some 20-year-olds. And he's retired. In fact, the day I met him, he was working on his day off because he was bored. That's pretty cool. Well, hiking the Grand Canyon was kind of the finale of this trip. But we're not done yet. I still got a couple more days, but I'm actually going to relax this time. It's very hard for me to sit still. I've been on the go the whole week, pretty much. Taking a couple naps, but that was about it. So today I'm really not going to do anything, and same with most of tomorrow. But I do have something cool planned at the end of tomorrow. So I'm just going to sit here and take a day off from filming and editing and most of tomorrow. When we come back towards the end of the video, I'm going to go over all the things that I have used in this trailer in 7 days. But most importantly, I'm going to bring you all back for the final and best camp dinner of the entire trip. Alright, it's the last day, and I've saved the best camp meal for last. But I won't be cooking, and I do need to put on my best camping attire to attend the Chateau El Tevar tonight for dinner. Ah, the stables. This must be where the valets convey us to the front entrance. Excuse me, good sirs. Would any of you kindly convey me to the front entrance and park my carriage around the back? Well, it seems the staff around here is just a bunch of animals. They were extremely stubborn. They told me I have to walk. For the kind of money you have to pay at a facility like this, I would expect the utmost courtesy and respect. I will definitely be leaving them a bad Yelp review. Absolutely preposterous. I could break a sweat in this heat, or even dirty my shoes.
So how has the Sunday been? Pretty peaceful?
Pretty nice, yes.
Check out our desserts if you like.
Oh, that looks pretty good.
Absolutely.
Did you have any questions for me?
Yeah, ma'am. What was the soup du jour again?
Cream of asparagus.
Okay.
So my name is Jill. Shirlene is your server. I'll be assisting her, so whenever you come in.
Oh my gosh, that is wonderful.
Enjoy. How's the steak?
Absolutely excellent.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gail says that.
manufacturer is Suffolk, Virginia, which is close to Louisville.
Now I must retire at my cabin in the woods and relax by the fire. I'm just fooling. That whole entire meal was absolutely excellent. It has been so long since I've had a filet mignon at a restaurant that was a legit filet mignon. It was so tender I literally cut that thing with my fork. That appetizer was also absolutely excellent. That was a fried pork belly with a cherry chipotle sauce. Probably one of the tastiest barbecue sauces I've had. The filet mignon came with mashed potatoes and some kind of a fire sauce. It wasn't that spicy, it was a little sweet. It was absolutely excellent. And I'm really glad I skipped lunch today for this meal. I rarely ever order dessert after a dinner like that. And I'm so glad I went with the waitress's advice. That apple pie was probably one of the best I've ever had, and I've had some that were supposedly the best. And of course it has to be a la mode with the vanilla ice cream. After all, eating all this camp food and being on vacation, I did have to have one good meal. But that place definitely isn't bougie. It is a little bit more upscale, but as you can see, I was just wearing a t-shirt and jeans. And really, for being a world-class facility there, the prices weren't that bad, believe it or not. Now, although not cheap, that filet mignon dinner alone came to about $60. In retrospect, that is not too bad at all. I've been to some places that were supposed to be pretty upscale, high-end, and paid like $90 for a filet mignon. And you know what? It wasn't even that good. Because I know you're wondering, the whole total with the appetizer, the wine, a soda, and dessert came to $110. It definitely ain't cheap, but that's not an everyday meal. And for being where that place is situated and the excellent quality of that food, I would say that was actually a pretty good deal. Now I'm almost back to camp. I'm gonna actually light a fire for once. A couple nights back I had one, but I didn't videotape it. And then I'll start to close out this whole vacation video series. And look at that once more. There's only one other camper besides me here. It's a pretty neat fire pit. You got a little lower grill area for like charcoal and stuff. We're cooking down low. And you have a swivel one that comes in. Pretty neat. That is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Every once in a while you get to see some really cool fire pits at some of these places. But unfortunately, it is time to close out this video. This is the last of 4 parts to my Tabcation Vacation Camping video series. It's been a pretty darn good trip. It's been a little hectic with me constantly moving around, but it totally makes it worth it. I get to see a lot of stuff in a short period of time. But I did get to finally relax. The last 2 days here that you didn't see, I was just chilling out in my chair, staring up at the sky, relaxing, taking naps. Finally. But I do want to get to all the stats of everything I've used in that trailer on this camping trip for 7 days at least. I've been out here a little longer than that, but I'll base it off of 7 days of usage. But before we get to that, I'd like to tell everybody thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed all these videos. It was pretty fun doing them, especially the spoof in the first one of Big Trouble Little China, and the ending of this one, going to the restaurant. That was pretty fun to do. Little cheesy, but I thought it was funny. Cheesy's pretty funny. Now we're going to get into the trailer stats and everything that I used. So let's start with an easy one. Non-energy, water. For a single person, just me, and I'm pretty good at conserving water, taking showers about every other 2 days, using dude wipes the rest. In total, I've used about 30 gallons of water in 7 days. That afforded me about 4 quick showers, camp showers or Navy or military showers. And by the way, those that don't have an RV, if you don't know, you just don't leave the water running. You rinse down first, shut your water off, you suds up, and then you rinse off again. That's how you save water. Unless you're not dry camping and you're hooked up to a water source. So 30 gallons in 7 days is pretty good with 4 showers. Let's talk about the nasty stuff, the cassette. I dumped that about 4 times. I'd let that get about 3/4 of the way full. It was a little heavy, but I can lift that up. So I stretched it a bit, but it worked out perfectly. As far as the gray water went, I did one major dump when I was at the dump station after the first 3 days. And I used most of that to flush out the cassette tank. Now, I only needed to get rid of about half of the gray water tank throughout the rest of this week, because I'll leave the rest in there for when I leave to actually go to the dump station on the way home. So with that water, I used an empty gallon jug, and I used that to put out my fire. I think it was the 4th or 5th night I had a fire that I didn't show you. And then a couple times as I left camp, I dumped a couple gallons down the drain in the front end of the park here, where they have a drain system for water runoff. And by the way, the gray tank in that thing is only used for taking showers and washing hands, basically. I don't even wash dishes in there, so there is no food remnants at all. Most of that gets done with my 5-gallon jug outside, and then I'll pour some of that remaining wash water right in the fire pit where it gets burned up anyway. Now, as far as the power usage, in the trailer alone, I figured out I used about 5,500 watts of power. And how I know that is I checked all my Victron charger histories to see how much charge I was charging that trailer. Of course, the trailer left home completely topped off. When it came to the Blue Eddy, I used about 2,000 total watts this trip, or 2,500-ish. And as far as the generator went, I ran that probably about a total of 8 hours throughout the week, or about 1 gallon of gas or whatever's in that thing. And that kept everything fully charged up when I was in the shade. And that was for running the lights, the roof fan, the refrigerator, the main vampire power sucking hog, and charging up anything else I needed to, on top of running the Starlink on and off. The Starlink uses a good deal of power, even though the Starlink Mini is way more efficient than the bigger brothers. So all in all, total, I think that was about 7,500-ish watts of power used. That probably equates to about 650 amp hours of battery or so. Now, these numbers aren't exactly correct, and that doesn't bother me at all, because every situation is different. If it's hotter out, your refrigerator runs more, you use more power. You're also using your roof fan more. If it's colder out, you're using less power. Now, speaking of that, propane. I have just enough propane to heat the trailer for the night. I started out with a smaller 5-gallon or 11-pound propane tank, which was probably only about 85-90% full because I forgot to fill it. And somehow it made it. I have just enough left to heat the trailer tonight and take a warm shower tomorrow. That is incredibly efficient. Check that out. We're like almost empty. So all in all, I don't think that's too bad. I'm a pretty efficient camper, and I think I'm getting a little better with this trailer when it comes to using power and propane and water and whatnot. This little trailer to me is just an extension of tent camping. That's how I treat it. It's just a big old tent that I take with me. I'm a real fan of less is more. The less crap you bring, the less you have to unpack, the less you have to worry about, the less weight. And when you do it often enough, you whittle your way down to just what you need. Plus, it makes it so much more easier and fun when you can just get up and go, and you don't need to bring a whole bunch of stuff or worry about unpacking all that junk when you get home. But I did forget to talk about the truck. The truck is a part of this trip too. The new F-150 EcoBoost there is doing really good. And I gotta tell you what, if it wasn't for that, I would have been even more beat up on these long hauls with that Tacoma, especially having a headwind. And especially with the fuel usage. So far at this point, I've driven 1,100 miles. 50 miles of that was without the trailer. So in 1,100 miles, and I use premium fuel, I like to use good gas to keep stuff clean and burning right. Besides that, when you use good fuel, it burns a little better anyway, so it kind of makes up for the cost. A lot of people argue that point, but I'll tell you right now, I have noticed it. So far I've used about $270 in gas. If I were in the Tacoma, I'd be well into the 300s by now, believe me. So as of right now, the old Ford F-150 there seems to be holding up really well. And it definitely makes these trips a lot more comfortable, especially having a lot more power And I'm definitely not getting pushed around in the wind as bad. I don't even have to run the friction sway bar anymore on the trailer when it's windy. You'll still feel it a little bit, but not nearly as bad. All right, everyone. I think that just about nails everything. Now, my specs aren't dialed in perfect, and that doesn't matter to me. I don't need to know things down to like the watt or liter of water left, point something of a pound of propane to go, etc. This is the real world, and nothing's perfect, and everything changes. So there's no way to really give you a true exact. You have to be in the perfect optimal environment for all that. And that just ain't gonna happen. Well, with that being said, it's been a pretty epic or grand adventure over the last few days. So I think it's about time to call it quits before I bore you all. But don't worry, I'll definitely be out again. The camping bug will probably come back to bite me in a couple weeks. Well, once again, for the last time, thank you all very much, and I hope you enjoyed the last 4 episodes. See you all in the next adventure.
Absolutely preposterous.